So let's start looking at creating our Nurbs curve. Our Nurbs curve, you can think of it as a path through our space. It'll be down on the ground plane. It could be an aisle. It could be a walkway. It could have something that has a certain sweet spot in the room acoustically that the tiles want to reflect on. And so let's just get into the idea of building that. So I've already opened up Nurbs curve, but let's just look at how this is within the whole I guess, organization. A curve or a line is a piece of geometry. If we go to curves, we'll find that we have Nurbs curves. We can define other kinds of curves, but Nurbs is just an easy one to use. And we want to be really careful about how we select these. We don't want to do a Nurbs curve by control points right now. We're going to just do the very simplest one, and that's a curve by points. So I'm going to select that, and it'll show up on the screen. And now we need some points. And the quickest way to do that is to create the idea of those points by coordinates again. So I'm going to right click and I'm going to duplicate, or I'm going to find that points by coordinate again. And I'm using it this way. I could have also used copy and paste. All right, I could do Control C, Control V, but you'll notice that it still comes with all these wires attached, so it's a bit cumbersome. Also, it's not previewing, so it wouldn't show up until we change that setting. All right, so I have a new points by coordinate, and we have our starting point. And let's do this a few times. I'm going to zoom out and give ourselves a little bit of space to work here. I'm going to copy and paste that and line that up below the next one. And then I'm going to do that again. Paste another one so that we have 3 points to make our Nurbs curve. And we need some way of defining each one of those points. And we're going to use the same tool we used up here, or a similar one like the code block. And we're going to create a list of numbers. I'm going to right click and do code block again. This is a really handy tool for entering numbers or other kinds of sequences. And let's start with 0. I'm going to hit semicolon. Let's do 10, semicolon, return. I'm going to do 14. This is, remember, these are just like feet. And then I'll do 20, the terminal length that we worked with, and hit return. I don't need to. And now something really different happens because I put that semicolon at the end. I get individual values or expressions on this. So if I zoom in here, you can see how that looks a little better. So let's go ahead now and just try this. I'm going to drag in, let's say, just to show you an example. We don't want to use 0 because these are already defaulting to 0. I'm going to make the first coordinate point. I want to make that somewhere, this is at the 0, 0. I'm going to make it halfway across our 20-foot field. So I'll actually just drag in 10 to the Y. And you'll notice that point moved over to here. There's still a point here. There's actually 2 points still here because these are both highlighting. So that's why this hasn't just completely disappeared. The next point I want to make is somewhere over here. That's 10 and 10. So let's just try that. I'm going to drag the 10 in and the 10 in. And now we have another point in the center of the room. And then the last point will be at the end center of the room. So it'll be at 20 and 10. Now, it's not a very curvy line, right? Because I haven't manipulated the center point yet, but I just want to get us to the point of creating a line. If I drag these points into here, it'll error out. For some reason, and not for some reason, for the techniques that the way this node-based system works, you can't drag multiple elements into the same collector. And the technique we use is to gather up those points in what's called a list. So I'm going to right click now and type in list. And I'm looking for the idea of list create. And now when I start to drag points in, I can add, and we're going to drag 3 points in. And I can drag that now into the list. And we now have a straight line. If I click on it, it'll turn blue. Now, if yours isn't working, it could be that you have a Nurbs curve not by points, but by control points. So be very careful to make sure that you've selected a Nurbs curve by points. Now, we want this to have a little bit of curvy feature to it. And the way to do that is just to drag in something that changes that one dimension. So I'm going to change this Y to a 14. And now we have a little curve started for our shape. So next we'll start to draw, next we'll look at dragging a relationship or creating a relationship between these curves and the lines that are up here, or the points, excuse me, that are in our ceiling array.